Today's Mishnah is sponsored by Benny Etlinger for his mother's yard site today. L'seich Nishmas Mingala Bas Yitzchak, the Neshama Shavan Aliyah.
Amen.
Okay, so we're learning Mishnayos Chagiga, Parak Beis, Chapter 2, Mishnah Gimel, Mishnah 3. Beis Sham, and this is a continuation from yesterday's Mishnah. Beis Shammai Omer, Beis Shammai say, Mevi'in Shlamim, one can bring Shlamim, referring to the Shalmei Chagiga, the Shlamim that every person who comes to the Beis HaMikdash on Yantif has to bring that carbon Shlamim. Mevi'in Shlamim, you bring the Shlamim carbon, Ve'ein Seimchen Aleim, but you may not lean on them, as we learned yesterday. Aval, however, Loy Oiles, but you cannot bring burnt offerings. That means, according to Beis Shammai, even the Oilas Re'iyah, even the Oila that each individual is obligated to bring, they cannot bring it on Yontif itself. According to Beis Shammai, the reason you can bring the Shlamim carbon is because you, the owner, partake from the Shlamim carbon itself. You, your guests, whoever you want. And therefore, it comes out that when I'm offering the Shlamim, it's like it falls under the category of what a person is preparing for a meal, right? Anything that a person does, melechas eichel nefesh, anything that a person does as food preparation may be done on Yontif. The carbon Shlamim is just like is food preparation, because at the end of the day, you're going to be eating from it. So it falls under the category of food preparation, which we can do on Yontif. But the Olo offering, which there is no one that eats from it, it's completely burnt on the altar, that by Shammai says, even though you're obligated to bring it, you may not bring it on Yontif itself. You have to bring it on Chalamoid. Now, Beis Shammai have a pasuk for this. And their pasuk is, the pasuk says, there's one pasuk regarding Yontif that says, Atzeres tiyeh lochem. It shall be a festival for you. And what's derived from there is, it's for you and not for God, so to speak. Meaning that which you're bringing has to be for you. That which is not for you, but only completely for Hashem, that is excluded. And therefore, Beis Shammai say that you cannot bring it on Yontif itself. You have Chalamoid for Sukkot and Pesach, and for Shavuos, you have 6 days afterwards that if you didn't bring it on Yontif, you can bring it then. But according to Beis Shammai, you can only bring on Yontif the Shamei Chagiga, but not the Eilis Re'iyah, the Shlamim carbon that you eat from, you can bring. The Ola offering, the burnt offering that you don't bring from, you cannot bring. And even the Shlamim carbon that you may bring, you can't do the smich on it. You can't lean on it on Yontif itself. You have to lean on it from the day before, because as we learned yesterday, according to Beis Shammai, the smicha and the shchita, the slaughtering of the animal and the leaning of the hand and leaning on it don't have to be right next to each other. Ubeis Hillel Oimrim and Beis Hillel say, Mevi'en Shlamim ve'oiles v'seimchen aleim. You may bring the Shamei Chagiga, the Shlamim carbon you have to bring, the Ola carbon that you have to bring. You may bring them on Yantif, v'seimchen aleim, and you will do the leaning on them. Now, according to Beis Hillel have a pasuk that says, Atzeres Hashem Elokecha, which means the festival to Hashem, your God. That would mean that what you bring can be completely for Hashem. And based on that, he therefore says that Eilis Re'iyah can also be brought on Yontif. Now, this discussion is only a discussion about the Shamei Chagig and the Eilis Re'iyah, where these are the obligatory sacrifice you have to bring. We have this argument between Shammai Beis Hillel. But if, let's say, we're talking about personal sacrifices, you took upon yourself your own voluntary obligation to bring an Ola, to bring a Shlamim, that cannot be brought on Yontif. Those things that are completely voluntary, those may not be brought on Yontif at all, even if we're talking about Shlamim. And the reason is because you don't have to bring that on Yontif. You can bring that anytime you want. People conveniently bring it when they come. It's convenient to bring it when they come to be Oila Regel. But they don't have to bring it on Yontif. Its time is not designated for Yontif, and therefore you cannot do it on Yontif itself. And everyone agrees that all communal festival offerings are brought on Yontif, even though the offerings, because the Torah commands us to do so, meaning you have the Musafin, the carbon Musaf. The carbon Musaf is an Ola offering. No one partakes from it, but the Torah says you bring it on Yontif. You bring it on Yontif is something to talk about. So when we're talking about communal sacrifices, there's no argument that you bring them. If we're talking about voluntary sacrifices, there's no argument you can't bring them. The argument is about the oilas re'iyah, the oil that you're obligated to bring, whether you can bring that on Yontif or not. Okay, the next halach in the Chofetz Chaim is the following. Somebody reveals to his friend in front of three people something about his business. Something about his business. Or anything similar, something that the assumption is you may not, even if he didn't specify, there's certain things that you can assume or you need to assume or be aware that people don't want that revealed if they don't tell it to you. And therefore, in that situation where the assumption is that it's forbidden to go ahead and reveal, because it can cause him, if you reveal what he told you, it can cause him some kind of damage or some kind of distress. But now that he revealed in front of three people, which means it would seem that therefore he doesn't care. He said in front of three people, he knows it's going to spread. In this such situation, you now would be able, you would have the heter, you'd have the permission of the fact is in front of three, fact is going to spread, because although typically you'd assume this information may not be spread, because he doesn't want it to be spread, but if he did it in front of three people, that means he doesn't care if it gets spread. And therefore it falls under anything that's said in front of three people, as long as he has not specifically said that he doesn't want you to go ahead and spread it. At the same time, all the other conditions that were said before about this permission, about saying after it's been said in front of three people, meaning that you don't intentionally try to spread it, you're just kind of saying it very, nonchalant, so to speak. All those kind of conditions are met here. And although the Chofetz Chaim does not mention this in the halachas itself, but in his footnotes in Ber Mayim Chaim, he really says this is not the whole idea of apei tlasa, that if it's said in front of three people and it's going to spread, that now you could also repeat it, is not agreed upon according to all Rishonim, and therefore it is best to stay away from this kind of heter. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So does it, for the purpose of